Introducing the Sonnox Fraunhofer Pro-Codec. For the first time, the Pro-Codec makes it possible to audition your mix in real time using the world-renowned Fraunhofer codecs, including the latest MP3 and AAC codecs and the lossless HD AAC and MP3 HD codecs. It will help you make more informed decisions about which codec and bitrate to use when finally encoding to your target format. And the Pro-Codec allows you to create up to 5 different encoded versions of your mix simultaneously, rendering them to disk either in real time or offline. Let's take a closer look. We'll start by putting the Pro-Codec across the main output as our final plugin. When it first opens up, it defaults to online encode mode. There are 5 codec slots, each of which can be loaded with a codec and set to use any of the available settings: bitrate, mode and quality. Let's put a couple more in here. Let's have an HD AAC, a lossless codec, and let's choose an HE AAC with a low bitrate, commonly found in streaming radio, and start playing our mix. The FFT display shows the spectral content of the input signal in yellow. Using perceptual coding techniques, the codec algorithms make it possible to create data-compressed audio files by not having to include parts of the audio signal which are masked by other sounds. The different signal here shows the audio that won't need to be encoded. You can listen to the diff signal by pressing the diff button. If I select an HD AAC codec, you can see there is no diff signal because it's a lossless codec. The display for lossless codecs incorporates a bit meter, which indicates the bit resolution into the codec and shows whether you are dithering and truncating correctly. A phase display gives you a further indication of the differences between the input and encoded audio. So what's this green line here? NMR, or noise to mask ratio. It shows us where the codec-induced noise may possibly be audible. When it's green, all of the noise is completely masked, so it won't be heard when listening to the codec output. Toggling between the input signal and auditioning the codec output confirms this. Let's look at this codec though, MP3 at just 96 kilobits per second. The areas in red indicate where you may hear artifacts generated by the coding process. So using this real-time feedback means that for the first time you can strike the best balance between fidelity and file size. These meters are showing estimated compression ratios for each codec. You can see how they vary. Because the Pro-Codec works in real time, analyzing the bit stream, it will sometimes find overs. Many people don't know that in some circumstances, the filtering in the coding process can cause clipping, especially at lower bit rates. And that's what these LEDs are telling us here. By entering a trim value, or simply dragging the value across, you can be sure that your encoded files won't clip when decoded. Not sure which codec to use? The Pro-Codec will allow you to compare up to 5 different codec settings. For closer comparison between 2 codecs, use the A-B mode. I can select codecs to compare. For example, I want this one to be A, and currently B is the input signal. I actually want to compare 2 codecs against each other, so I'm going to make this one B. Then click the AB button to switch between them both. The switching is interpolated, meaning you don't get a glitch or break in the audio, so you can just concentrate on the differences. I can even hide visual clues to rely on my ears. For a more statistical approach, we've included an ABX option. Again, this is great for testing a codec against the input, or for comparing 2 different codecs and judging which one you're listening to. The plugin will randomly select X to be either A or B. I just have to tell it what I think I'm listening to, either A or B. Once I've made my selection, it makes a new random selection for X, and I repeat the process. Do I think it's selected A or B? A counter shows me how many tests I've done. Ideally, you want to do up to 20 to eliminate any statistical errors. Once you've completed your test cycles, click Reveal to show your percentage of accuracy. Writing your encoded files couldn't be easier. Choose the destination for your encoded files. Select any information you want to include in the file name. You can even change the order if you like. Then just arm your codecs. Press the Master Record button and press play on your workstation. As the files are written, the actual compression ratios are confirmed here. File writing stops when you stop playback, and here are my encoded files. The Pro-Codec's offline sections let you browse to or simply drag and drop your WAV files into here, and encode using your chosen codec and settings. Encoded files can be decoded to WAV or AIF in the same way. The Pro-Codec allows use of codecs in sessions up to 192 kHz, automatically downsampling to allow codec auditioning even when the codec used doesn't support the session sample rate. It can be used with mono, stereo and 5.1 surround projects, and is compatible with Pro Tools, VST and Audio Units applications on both Mac and Windows. Get your 15-day demo of the Pro-Codec plugin at www.sonnox.com.